I think really just what it takes to really get a business right in terms of the business process and just how to run an efficient business, but how to make that fun along the way. So it's not just a kind of a drab process, that it's actually an enjoyable process.
I think something that's powerful is reading a room. Have you got any tips for our business owners? You know, when they do enter a room, because sometimes we might be delivering a proposal and our mind's going 169 miles an hour. What's the best way to read a room and kind of gauge who's there and how you can best deliver that proposal?
I think it really comes back to just taking a moment to observe and almost deliberately checking in with yourself a little bit first. So it's really important that, before you're trying to read a room, you know where you're at. And you might need to use different techniques, and maybe just some breath techniques or something, just to very sort of be in the room and be present in the room.
Hello and welcome to the Real Biz Life Chronicles, where we discuss all things business, branding and life from the Horizon Digital podcast recording studio here in Perth. I'm your host Tracy Fryer, the founder of Design Studio Perth, and because Design Studio Perth is dedicated to helping business owners grow with distinction through captivating branding and design, we're offering all our listeners a free brand discovery. So if you find yourself frustrated with your current branding and marketing and aren't too sure where to next, use a link in the show notes below to book in a time to have a chat. Now, I don't know about you, but I find the best conversations are had over a great cup of coffee. And so the coffee for each episode of the Real Biz Life Chronicles is brewed for us by no other than the legends at Cuppa Cartel. They're fueling great conversations, one cuppa at a time. Now, the Real Biz Life Chronicles is on a mission to become one of Australia's leading business podcasts, but in order to do that, we please need your help. If you do enjoy today's episode, we please ask that you like and subscribe to our channels below, or simply share this episode with a fellow business owner who is doing one of the hardest things in the world, building a business. Now, if there is a question you'd like us to ask our guests, please feel free to pop it in the comments section below, or simply send us an email at info@therealbizlifechronicles.com. My guest today builds better businesses and isn't afraid to laugh while doing it. He didn't grow up chasing a big career dream. In fact, by the time he hit high school, he'd already ruled one path out, accounting, and quickly pivoted into IT, following his instincts and a childhood knack for pulling apart and fixing computers. That curiosity never left. Today, he channels it into his work, helping business owners redesign their companies from the inside out, with smarter systems, sharper strategy, and a serious commitment to people, planet, and profit. Ask anyone who knows him, and they'll tell you strategic, sustainable, and straight talking, and I'd like to add, one of the calmest people I've ever met. But there's more to him than business acumen, much more. He's also a stand-up comic, using humour to connect, challenge, and bring joy. And at home, he's a hands-on dad who doesn't just balance family and work, he brings full presence to both. He shows us what it really means to be a committed father and a business owner in a world that really makes space for both. You're not going to get a polished script here, you're going to get the real stuff. The unfiltered lessons, the awkward firsts, the late night wins, and the real cost of doing things your own way. This episode isn't just about strategy, it's about redefining success on your terms. Michael Watts, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tracy. Nice to be here.
Yes, great to finally have our conversation. I know it's been a few months that we had to wait for this one.
Yeah, it took a little bit of getting to it, but we're here, so let's go.
Yeah. Michael, from our conversation today, what's one thing that our listeners may learn today?
I think really just what it takes to really get a business right in terms of the business process and just how to run an efficient business, but how to make that fun along the way. So it's not just a kind of a drab process, that it's actually an enjoyable process, and how to get the most out of that.
And on that note, as you do a lot of stand-up comedy, is that right?
Yeah.
Walk us through, how do you intertwine comedy and business? Because business can be so serious and somewhat a bit sterile. How do you intertwine the two?
It's really a dynamic process, so it's something you can't force.
Yeah.
You really just need to kind of just step back and sort of observe things a bit and then look for the moments where you can inject some humour, and read the room a bit and just understand who are the characters in the room. Are they the jovial type, or are they the more serious type? And just really just sort of work with that dynamic and sort of just find the edge in. And once it's there and people start to open up, it starts to flow.
I think something that's powerful is reading a room. Have you got any tips for our business owners, when they do enter a room, because sometimes we might be delivering a proposal and our mind's going 169, miles an hour. What's the best way to read a room and kind of gauge who's there and how you can best deliver that proposal?
I think it really comes back to just taking a moment to observe, and almost deliberately checking in with yourself a little bit first. So it's really important that, before you're trying to read a room, you know where you're at. And you might need to use different techniques, maybe just some breath techniques or something, just to very sort of be in the room and be present in the room. So you're kind of trying to come out of your mind and just be there. And then it's just starting to understand, okay, who is here? And, are these people I know? Have I met them before? Have I not? And just really just giving them space to be themselves as well, and try and find out who they are, and just be yourself and let them be themselves, and it kind of just comes out of the woodwork from that.
And at what stage of your business journey did you start doing stand-up comedy?
I actually started doing stand-up a couple of years after starting my own business.
Yeah.
So I started stand-up quite late in life, which is only about 4 years ago, but it is something that I'd had an interest in for quite a long time. So I remember, I think when I was like 12 years old, my dad took me to a stand-up comedy show, and there was lots of swearing and things that I shouldn't have been hearing. But I just remember that as sort of one of those moments in my childhood.
Yeah.
And then as I was growing up, I kind of had a friend that would always say, I'd say something funny and say, you should get up on stage one day and say that. But I've always been an introvert. So I've always been a little bit like, oh, nah. But then I just kept watching it and enjoying it. And then as I got further into adult life, I was like, nah, I'm going for it.
Yeah,
and,
good.
Just decided, about a few years ago, I'm going to go do a stand-up course, and I'm going to go give it a crack.
And was that completely out of your comfort zone?
It was in many ways. I actually quite enjoy public speaking and getting in front of people. So in that sense, it was sort of like an extension of that. But the idea of kind of having to craft a joke and could deliberately make people laugh, that was sort of something that I wasn't natural at.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of learning to do that. Yeah.
So you actually craft the joke yourself and then deliver it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So something, you just might observe some things that seem a bit odd, or some even things about yourself, and then you kind of use different techniques to bring those ideas together. And sometimes the forced joke writing techniques don't come up with anything in a session.
Right.
But then you'll be in the shower or walking down the street and, aha, I've got the funny moment now. Yeah.
Yeah. I find the shower is a great place for great business ideas as well.
Absolutely.
I remember you did a presentation at Leaders, and I was well surprised because, I thought it would just be on business, and then I think you did a bit of stand-up comedy as well. And that was where you mentioned that was an interest of yours.
Yeah, so I mean at WA Leaders I have actually done a little comedy routine as part of one of the sessions, and that went down well, and I've got some material that worked quite well in a corporate setting. A lot of my material is actually hashtag not work appropriate, so it stays in the comedy room.
Oh damn.
And I've also done some other presentations at Leaders where I just try and make things engaging and interesting, and try and inject some humour into it. Yeah.
Why do you think humour is so important?
I think it just gives that dopamine hit. It's just that instant feel-good factor. But I think the other thing it does is it kind of just reinforces learning. So there's some research to show that if you are having fun when you're learning and you're laughing, you're more likely to retain that than if you're just reading the book or just hearing it, just hearing it read out, or just delivered as a standard lecture. So I think that's why it's so helpful. And then I think it also just helps with people just bonding with one another. So it helps building the relationships and building that bond and that trust between people.
Yeah, I find the reels that people share so funny. Like, I'm sure you get a few as well, but it's always fun when you're having a really bad day and you just think, oh my goodness, this can't get any worse. And if someone sends you like a funny joke or a reel and a bit of humour, your day just becomes so much more lighter.
Yeah, exactly. I think I think I've just always gravitated towards that sort of humour and that lightness, and just you've had a bad day, and one of the things I like to do at the end of a hard day is just jump onto Netflix or something and just bring up a comedy special from one of my favourite comedians and just watch that, and then by the end of it I'm feeling good again. So ready to go.
Has there ever been a time you've delivered a joke and it hasn't gone down so well?
Too many times.
Want to share one or?
I probably can't share I can't remember the jokes off the top of my head.
Sure.
But I guess I've been I've basically got up on stage, maybe having 5 minutes, started my first joke.
Yeah.
And it's just crickets. And then I'll try the second one, maybe that'll, and then 30 seconds a minute. Okay, great. I've only got another 4.5 minutes of this to go, and I'll be out of here. That's sort of those moments where you just want to go get in the car and cry.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess, as business owners, we can experience that, delivering that proposal or meeting someone, for discovery meeting for the first time. Walk us through, what happens internally and how you kind of get past that, because I can understand, and I've been there, how that would just become all-consuming, sweaty mo, and off I go.
Yeah, actually, one of my favourite Perth comedians, his name's Andrew Wolf. He's a really sort of enigmatic, crazy sort of guy, gets up on stage, full energy, full on. But he will always kind of remind us, one of the things he'll say is that, look, it doesn't matter if this doesn't go well.
Yeah.
As far as comedy, because none of this really matters. It's fun, it's humour, it's important in that sense, but, the whole, a lot of it's just kind of, we're here for fun, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't work. We can have another go next week or, next time. And so I find that really quite a useful mindset to take on. If people don't find me funny tonight, that's okay. And that really kind of does help set you up for that business kind of environment, where if somebody doesn't take my proposal, that's okay. They're just maybe not for me, or maybe it's not now, and then later on we can have another chat, or I can put another proposal out and just keep going. And I think that's kind of what some of the stand-up disciplines help me, is that you get knocked down, you bomb, and you just kind of go, well, I'll refine things, I'll make things better, or I'll write something new, and I'll try again. And I think that kind of just that constant mentality of just keep going. Just have another go. Don't just try repeating the same thing, but tweak it, improve it, put a new offer out, might be what we do in business. And eventually it will flow. And that's kind of been the journey on both fronts, really. It can take a while, and a bit of grit and a bit of perseverance, and a few knockbacks, and then you break through.
Yeah, and I guess that, whether it's a proposal or delivering a joke, I guess there's a bit of a rejection cycle that would happen. Do you find that gets shorter the more you do it? Because I know sometimes I'll ruminate, be like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that, and I'll think about it for days. And I find in my own experience that's kind of got shorter now as I learn to deal with it a bit better. Has it been the same for you? Yeah,
I think, in terms of that definitely in that kind of business proposal space is kind of, it does take quite a lot of knocks to kind of build that thick skin and trying to get to that point of, I spent hours on that proposal, and they didn't like it, and oh no, and the world is going to end, and how am I going to pay the mortgage next month, and all that sort of stuff. To really just, okay, I'll write another one tomorrow. I'll call some other clients tomorrow, and I'll give it another go, and I just find that's it does get shorter, like you're saying. It really does just kind of compress, and you just learn to bounce back a lot quicker. And but you get also better at adapting as you go. So I was just explaining how 30 seconds in, things might not be working, and all right, what can I do? Let's bring something out of left field that's, these jokes aren't working, let's bring something out of the kit bag, or I'll just start talking to doing some crowd work and trying to engage the crowd, and maybe that doesn't work either, and I have to just call it quits and go early, but but quite often it starts to break the ice. And once you start getting a bit of the ice broken, and you start to build those relationships, and it starts to flourish. And so you do get better at adapting and sort of working out what can I do different now that could make a difference for this proposal or this deal or this client.
So constantly assessing everything.
That's right, that constant reassessment, and just kind of being very much aware of what's going on in the moment and in the room, and just adapting accordingly.
And Michael, I'd like to speak more about your business owner journey. What made you start your business?
So it was 2019. early into 2019, I had the opportunity to go out on my own, and that kind of came I wasn't actually expecting it. So the consultancy I was working for at the time, I'd been working for them for a little, not a heap of time, but they'd wanted to go more into business and digital strategy, which was my strength area, and they were building up capability in that area, and they sort of decided, no, we actually want to stick with public policy, and really sort of make sure we stay with that. And so it's sort of that skill set that I had was no longer as relevant. So they sort of said, okay, well, let's go separate ways, and we agreed with that. And I had an opportunity to either get another job or do something that I had an interest in doing early on when I'd even doing my MBA, 6-7 years earlier. I was like, I'd love to start my own business one day. I had this kind of idea, and back then I was like, but I don't have any network. I don't know. I probably just couldn't jump into it. But now here I was a number of years later with this opportunity just to kind of do my own thing. And I thought, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
And so, I registered the ABN and off I went. And To Be Advisory was born. And it's quite interesting how that name came about that I was just going out on my own, and I went to a networking event. And I just told them, I'm about to go out on my own, setting up my own business. And they said, well, what are you going to call it? I said, that's To Be Advised. And they went, actually, it's an advisory business. That could work. And I kind of then, and so I went and Googled the domain name and all that sort of thing. It was available. I went, right, that's it. Register, go.
Nice and easy, because sometimes that's the hardest part. Like with our clients who are rebranding, when you full rebrand, like changing the name, it's sometimes the hardest part to figure out that name.
Absolutely, So it just kind of serendipitously appeared in my life, and I just went with it.
Awesome. Yeah. And so, Michael, you help businesses become better, better for people, planet, and profit. Which of those three do you think most business owners struggle with, and why?
I'll probably answer that slightly differently. I think the one that they concerned about most is the profit.
Yeah.
No surprise there. But I think that's also the one that they kind of, they do kind of know how to solve it in many different ways, and there's lots of different ways to solve that problem. I think where they do struggle more is in that people and planet part, and also understanding, well, what do we mean when we're trying to make business better for people or make it better for the planet? And what we're talking about there is really around how do we make a business that people want to work for us, and customers want to buy from us, and suppliers want to do business with us. And that's really around the relationship and that sort of that social aspect of the business. And then the planet is really the environment part, which is probably in some ways a little bit easier, and it's quite quantifiable. You can measure your carbon footprint. You can measure how much waste you generate. And so it's really around, that people part, I think, is the hardest bit, and dealing with that kind of the social aspect of a business and trying to make it a business that, people want to do business with, and that has a positive impact on the communities it operates in.
So is sustainability a big part of what you do?
Yeah, so sustainability has been a big part of what I do. So it is really around those three things you were highlighting earlier, around strategy, sort of that systems and business improvement bit, and sustainability. So sustainability is kind of one of the offers I have been working with, and really helping businesses to understand how they can improve their business sustainability. And a lot of that has been around how do we be a more socially responsible business.
I think of those three, I've really struggled with the people side, like the team side.
Yep.
It's one thing bringing on an A player, but then there's such a responsibility as a manager to then manage that person to bring out the best in them. Yep. Do you find a lot of your clients struggle with that as well?
They definitely struggle with that in terms of how do they deal with that team, that sort of that team dynamic, that internal dynamic. And so how do we set up a business and a culture that's actually a great place to work? And that's something that, there's people who are probably far more qualified than me in terms of specialise in that kind of leadership development, team development and that sort of thing. But something that I find quite integrated into what I do. It just sort of comes up as a crucial issue, and something that I end up dealing with quite directly, and just helping businesses really just look at what is their team dynamic and how can we improve the working conditions and the environment that they're working in.
And what's one system or mindset that changed everything for you in how you run your business?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it really does come down to the mindset sort of thing. So the systems are systems, like, and I deal with them all the time, and that's part of what I help other business owners do is put in good systems and processes. But really it comes down to that mindset of just keep going. Just whatever happens, just keep going. And I don't mean just keep going blindly in the same direction.
Oh, no.
By any means. What I mean is sort of just keep showing up every day and doing what needs to be done. And, that might be a hard decision. Sometimes you've got to make hard decisions in a business.
Yeah.
And you've just got to show up and make that decision and make that call. But it is consistently showing up to do those things. And I think that does take a lot of grit and a lot of that mindset, because as a business owners, there are some days you don't want to show up. You do want to stay in bed. You do just want to go to the beach. It's like any job in that sense. But as a business owner, you also have this kind of this kind of urge, this desire to kind of to look after your baby and grow it and nurture it and into the best it can be. So that does help you show up. But that's what I find. It's that just that keep going mindset.
It's interesting you say that, because I find as I've become more focused in where I'm going and what I'm doing, those days where I want to go to the beach or want to rather do something else have kind of become less. I just think because I think my passion for what I'm doing has grown even more, if that's possible.
Yeah.
But is it the same for you?
It is the same, yeah. It definitely becomes kind of just something that it's now part of who you are almost.
Yeah.
And so as you're sort of working with it and, as you have that success, it does become something that you're quite interested in and, becomes your passion and the thing you just want to show up and do. And I saw I can't quote it directly or perfectly, but it was around, how does somebody become really excited about corporate tax law, and become passionate about that?
Yeah.
And it kind of came down to, well, they probably didn't start out passionate about that, but they put in the hard work and they got rewards from that hard work. And now they fly around on private corporate jets because they're such an in-demand corporate tax lawyer that they are now passionate about corporate tax law because of what it's done for them.
Yeah.
And so it kind of just becomes a case of, as I've enjoyed building this thing, I've enjoyed the journey, the thing that I took on that journey becomes my passion.
And I love how it ties back into the comedy side of things. Like you said, you just have to keep getting up, face rejection, swallow the pain, keep going. So I think it works really well. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And so that definitely helps with that. I think just sort of that, that raw rejection and just being able to just swallow the pill and keep going. Yep.
And Michael, what do you think is the key ingredient to being a successful business owner?
I think it is that sort of just, you've just got to keep going. Like if you can just kind of keep going and keep making good decisions along the way, and just keeping on with it.
So the grit?
The grit, that attitude of constantly wanting to strive to be better.
Yeah.
I think, and it's just that showing up. I think that makes a big difference, and having that mindset of action. So show up, take action. And, that's not mindless action or just whatever action. It's strategically thought about action. But, it's just continuing to do that. And I think if you keep putting in the reps, you'll have the outcomes.
I agree with that. Let's talk failure. What's the time things went completely sideways, and how did you handle it?
So I think, again, I like I said, I didn't see that sort of job change coming in 2019. I was quite enjoying where I was working. And so it was unexpected, but I had just prior to that had a marriage breakdown as well. And so I sort of had failure on failure. And I was also really struggling mental health wise.
In the same year?
In the same year, in the same kind of 6-month block.
Yeah, it helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And so, I'd had ongoing issues with mental health, depression and anxiety for a number of years, and it all kind of just came to a head. And I actually, found myself in hospital as a result of that.
Yeah.
And it all just got too much. And so, and I think it was really, just sort of a bit of a kind of a what the hell's happened type sort of period, a few weeks. And I kind of just went, oh, well, what am I going to do now? And I thought, well, I can either just sit here and wallow, or I can actually look at this as an opportunity to sort of start again in many senses. And so that's where I got the idea of, okay, I'm going to go start my own business. And I'm going to go for it. And so, it was actually a point of, there was sort of this kind of just point in my life where I was just like, it's all just gone up in smoke.
Yeah.
Everything I'd built, spent years doing, degrees and working hard and all of that sort of thing. And suddenly it was just like, well, I'm on my own and I've got no job. What do I do here?
Yeah, confronting.
It was quite confronting. And so, I just sort of, but it did take that mindset shift around really that choice around how to handle it. This is, you can either you can fail and stay failed, or you can basically use it as an opportunity to build from.
And did that moment happen sort of overnight, or was there someone in your life who helped you reach that point?
I would say it was a pretty individual thing. It wasn't necessarily someone who helped me reach that point at that point in time. But I kind of just worked through it myself, and I had some doctors and that sort of thing who were trying to encourage me, and so that obviously helped. But I think I just had an opportunity to reflect, and really I got some time out, and I think that time out just gave me the ability to go, all right, I've got good qualifications, I've got good experience, I'll just build on that. Yeah.
So for our listeners, and I know life can get pretty full on at times, and sometimes when one sort of major thing happens, it'll happen like in 2s or 3s. Have you got any advice for our listeners from your experience that you could share? Maybe 2 practical things that you did during that time? Yeah,
so I think really just be kind to yourself and forgiving of yourself if you need, forgiveness is what's needed, or just really just accepting things as they are.
Yeah.
So not just trying to pretend this isn't happening, or trying to just push through it without acknowledging that it's there. It really is around just that internal acceptance. Just this is life. This is what's happened, so that would be the kind of the number one thing. And then it's working out, okay, what next? Actually having that okay, what do I do here? And it's not, the answer's not necessarily going to come straight away, but it's okay, what is the action I can take to. What's one thing I can do today? And when you're really low, that one thing might be get out of bed.
Yes.
And that's it. And that's totally okay if things are that low.
Yeah.
But it really is just accepting that situation and just working out, okay, what can I do to take the next step? What is that next step that I can take? Yeah.
And that was 2019?
Yeah, so it's all early 19. Yeah.
And now looking back, do you sort of see why that chapter of your life happened that way?
I think it was really that opportunity just for me to sort of start a new direction, and sort of, basically build a new chapter in my life. And I guess it was just really just, why, we can sit there and ask why and sort of try and philosophically work out what was going on, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I tried that.
And I find that can be interesting, but ultimately not that helpful. And so, I kind of just look at it as a point of where now I've kind of learnt a lot of strength. And so I don't consider that I had a particularly difficult childhood or anything like that. I mean, I had, my parents did divorce when I was in my teenage years and that sort of thing. So there was that. But a lot of my childhood was reasonably straight. It's forward in terms of comfortable and that sort of thing. No major trauma or anything like that. And so I think it kind of got to a point in my life where life was teaching me a lesson. I've learnt a lot from it, and now I'm much stronger from that. And I think that maybe that's the ultimate life lesson in it, is just that helping me build that strength for the next chapter of my life.
Yeah, and I know you have you've met someone else, and you had a little baby. Was it 18 months ago?
Yeah, well, she's 19 months now. It flies
believe it.
along.
Wow.
Yeah, so my wife Nicole, who is also a stand-up comedian.
Oh, great, match made in heaven.
Yeah, and she's much better at it than I am, and she's got a a YouTube clip from the
Cool.
Melbourne Comedy Festival in front of 1,400 people to prove that she's better than me.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, she's very talented. And so, yeah, but we do have a 19-month-old daughter together, and we just had our 4th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congrats.
So yeah, that was just Monday night this week was that.
Oh,
And so,
recently.
Yeah, very recently. So yeah, we're both very excited, and and we you know, she's just at that point of now we're looking at, okay, how can we you know, what more can she do to help me in growing the business? And so we've just been talking about that. We're having lunch together before this and talking about some strategies for next year. And I'm very excited about, you know, the direction we want to, you know, our shared direction that we want to go in. And it's a very, very, very exciting year next year, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I can ask, obviously having gone through a marriage breakup and then meeting your lovely wife, Nicole, now, did you find you kind of opened up to it as the years kind of, I guess, as the time kind of passed by? Being more open to meeting someone?
Oh, yeah. So I think, you know, as I was, you know, when I was single, I was quite enjoying the single life. And I kind of always thought to myself, well, you know, there's probably someone out there for me.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm fine. You know, I'll try some dating apps and that sort of thing.
You're brave.
No, I was brave. And you know, but I did meet my wonderful wife, and we actually had our first sort of coffee date on the day that Scott Morrison was announcing the national lockdowns for COVID.
Right.
And so we kind of got that just in time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they had this sort of law that, you know, people who lived in the same local area could, you know, go on a walk with one other single person.
Right.
And so, well, we're both single, so we'll both go
Why
on walks.
not?
We had all these walking dates. So it was really nice way to sort of meet. And, and it was, it was a really nice time. And, and so it just kind of happened. You know, I guess in many senses, and you know, sort of, okay, the right person has come along sooner than I probably anticipated, but here she is.
Yeah,
so,
great.
Yeah.
And something else you're great at, Michael, is showcasing that side of being a dad. I know I've seen some of your stuff on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice to see someone, a guy, like embracing that and sharing the challenges. Because obviously as women we can say, oh, you know, it's tough, and there are times where it is tough. Did you want to speak more to that and what it's like being a dad and running a business and trying to juggle everything?
Juggling's a good word. I sometimes people ask me about how do you achieve work-life balance, and I say I don't.
No.
It's called work-life blend now, and it's very much about just accepting what's going on in the moment. And, you know, there's times you've got to block out the diary or close the door and be like, no, I've got a client meeting, I've got a meeting, I've got to be in, and you know, my wife will help out with keeping that happening, and she's very good with that. But you know, it's also about being adaptable around. Well, you know, it's lunchtime and where we're going to go have lunch together. You know, it might just be, you know, go out in the kitchen and we'll have lunch together. And so it's just really about just making the most of the opportunity I've got in front of me.
Yeah.
And, you know, having that flexibility and just sort of trying to just roll with it as the day goes on. And it might just be, hey, can you just help me come out to the shop for a bit? Can you just help me? I don't have any meetings right now.
Yeah.
I could do this work tonight. Sure, I'll come along. And so it really just is about just trying to, you know, just to enjoy that moment as best it can, and not be shy of that. I think there are quite a few people who try and hide it behind a closed door and that sort of thing, and I think it's just opening up to that and just being open to what's happening and enjoying life as it is.
And I think one of the beauties of being a business owner is if you've got that flexibility, hopefully, in your day where you can kind of shuffle things around. I know when I first started my business, every now I still have to catch myself. I'm very structured, like 8 to 5, like it's all work, Tracy. But sometimes stuff happens, so you have to like shuffle things around or, you know, do some late nights, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, so I think that being flexible and just trying to keep it as simple and straightforward as possible in that sense, and not be too strict on yourself or the people around you.
Yeah.
And just accept, you know, I've had times where she's been on my lap and I've had a Teams call come in. I'm just like, all right, I answer it. You know, it does depend a little bit on who it is and how well I know them.
Yeah.
But, you know, quite often they're like, oh, hello. Yeah. You know, especially when they know I've got a daughter. Oh, hello, nice to meet your daughter. Or nice to see you again, my favourite person. And they're not talking about me.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is just being adaptable, and and I really enjoy that. And I think, you know, I do occasionally sort of put something on LinkedIn or talk about it somewhere, and just be open about it, and it sort of normalise that idea that, you know, children are a part of our lives, and how can we integrate them and not sort of make it us and them.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've seen ladies do it, but not many guys. And it was really nice to see that you spoke about that quite openly.
Yeah, thanks.
What's something in business you feel more business owners should be open about, besides being a parent?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
So what's something in business that you feel more business owners could be more open about?
I actually think, that some of their personal challenges and what's going on for them. And I think, as business owners and we like to put on that brave face. Everything's great. All good here.
So true.
Look at how strong my business, growth. We're growing. And then privately behind the scenes, they're melting down and they're worrying about cash flow and their pipelines just, there's nothing very little in the pipeline or dried up completely. And I think business owners, they don't have to be public about it so much, but I think just being real with each other. I think that would be very, very, very helpful for a lot of other business owners. This is normal to have a dried up pipeline. Nobody wants it, but it happens.
No.
And so I just think that would be something that I would suggest is that, just business owners just being real about where things are really at least with each other. And sometimes there are some communities and forums where that can happen. But I think largely I think it's just in general. I think just being more authentic and not trying to put on not pretending everything's great when it's not.
So true. And I see so many business owners do that. And then, you hear by the grapevine that they either up to their eyeballs in debt or they actually haven't got it all together. So it's, and even I find in like general conversation, it's the same. I'm busy. I hate the word busy. Like I'm so adverse to it now. I'm like, I'm being productive, but you've really, you've mentioned something important there because we think we have to have our shit together all the time. And sometimes we don't, right?
Yeah, that's right. You're talking there about the business of busyness.
Yeah.
It's quite common. How are you busy? It's
busy.
so normal. And I think it's probably okay to say, look, I'm busy because I'm trying to find new clients because my pipeline's a bit short. And I think just being a bit more authentic about that. I think there's a little bit of a fear of if I tell people I'm actively seeking new clients, they'll think I'm desperate.
Yeah.
Now there's a difference between I'm honestly just seeking more work. I've got a capacity in my business and being desperate. And I think if we can openly and honestly just share that, then people can be aware of that.
It can help you. That's right, there's nothing wrong with it. Like if someone said that, I'd be like, sure. Like who can I connect you with, or can I make an introduction for you?
Yeah.
But I think something I had to ask myself, and I still have to ask myself this, what am I so busy with? Like, is it actually moving the needle closer to my goals, or am I just being busy for the sake of being busy? So I often find I have to check in with myself at least once a week to make sure that I'm actually productive with the right things and not just filling my day with, 159 different things that aren't actually serving me.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. You can get very caught up in, I need to make my website perfect. And 80% is probably good enough. It's got to be good. It can't be not rubbish, but it's just got to be good enough. And that's true of most things in business. Good enough is actually good enough.
Yeah.
And get it to good enough and move on. If it's a client deliverable and it's the final version, polish it. Absolutely.
Sure.
Make it beautiful. But a lot of the time there is especially a lot of that internal stuff, just get it done to a standard that we can move on from it and just park it and move on.
Yeah.
And not get too bogged down in nitty-gritty detail. And that's sort of something we can get quite bogged down in, is worrying about the specific wording of how I'm going to word the LinkedIn post.
Oh my gosh,
or how what image am I going to put with it? And my last few posts I just didn't have time to worry about an image, so I just put it text.
Yeah.
And it didn't get the impressions in the engagement, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's just that, well, I'm showing up and I'm getting there. And so I think it's just that, not letting you get too caught up in those nitty-gritty minutiae details that can really just lead you down rabbit holes.
Completely. And I hear business owners spend like 2 or 3 hours trying to figure out the perfect post, and then they'll just say, too hard, can't deal. And they lose all that time.
Yeah, that's right. Too hard, done deal, and they'll not post it.
No.
Or they'll spend hours putting this post together thinking it's going to get great engagement, and it gets crickets.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, this happened before.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
But it's kind of just acknowledging, that happens. But just trying to be realistic about it. And, you quite often hear of people that it's their post that they just randomly put up there, and that's the one that went viral. And and we can lose sight of that is that, we don't really know how these algorithms work and what they're going to take, what's going to take off and what's not.
No, and I was actually going to say, sometimes it's the post that got no traction that actually pushed that random post up. So just keep, always said our clients, just keep being consistent and posting. Of course, try and have a, brand strategy or framework or messaging toolkit that you work from. So you're not just, haphazardly posting. But yes, always that consistency. It does definitely help, push a post or push our content out there. Like, we've literally moved into a time where we all have to be content creation beasts, right?
Yeah, that's right, absolutely. And sometimes I get a little bit confused because you'll see the impression count's quite low and you'll kind of go, but then a couple of people will say, oh, I saw that post about that. I was like,
yeah.
Were you one of the two people? Were you the two people that saw it?
I sometimes wonder how accurate it is, right? Because they'll say like it had really low, and then, like, as you mentioned, people mention that they've seen it. Or we had one of our biggest clients. They followed us on social media, got our newsletter, never liked, commented, responded to an email. And when I actually got a call saying that the person was coming from over east to meet, that sales process went like from this to this because we had consistently showed up. And it happens with a number of our clients as well.
Yeah,
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I think people should just keep literally showing up.
Yeah, I think that's probably one. Yeah, that it comes back to that. Yeah, consistently showing up and focusing on the things that matter and are going to move the dial, and continuing those actions that are going to help to move the dial. So that can be, continuing that posting strategy that you've got, and ultimately, how do all of these things I do help to drive my revenue?
Yes.
Or how do they help to reduce my costs and improve my business efficiency? Yeah.
And have you got any tips for us on that note? Like, what are maybe a few things business owners can do to increase their profit, for example?
I think there's quite often a big focus on how do I grow my top line growth? How do I grow my revenue? And that's absolutely important. I think a lot of business owners, they'd really benefit from understanding what's going on in the back end of their business, so their business process. So how are things are there bottlenecks anywhere? Are there things I'm doing in my business I don't need to be doing? Are there processes I can eliminate? And so that's something that I've sort of starting to spend a lot more time on lately. Is I think there's a lot of businesses that are kind of going, well, I'm too big to be small, but I'm too small to be big, but I've still got to run efficiently. So trying to find those opportunities to run more efficiency through understanding your business process and how does it work, what tasks are completed in what sequence and who does what, and are those processes happening efficiently, and then as I grow, are they going to scale with me?
Yes.
And so I think that's something that that I was just talking earlier about, the plans for my business for next year with my wife is starting to help business owners in that space where they're kind of really just needing to understand what's holding my business back from being able to grow, what's stopping that growth, and quite often it comes back to there's a business process or there's something that's sort of getting in the way, a bottleneck or a process I don't need to be doing that's just taking up time.
Yeah.
And so it's really about, where can I save time, as in the time is money type equation. And that's what it comes down to is that, we need to increase our sales. Yes, we need to continue to look at how do we grow in terms of our sales and our revenue, but where can I save some time? Where can I make things more efficient? And those two things together, when you do the two together, then you start to get some compounding returns in your bottom line, as opposed to potentially having increased revenue but reducing your net profit, because you're not keeping an eye on what's happening in that business process.
And sometimes that process just happens organically, especially I think those first few years. Like some business owners will try to write all their policies and everything beforehand, whereas I've kind of done it the other way around, because sometimes you have to be in it and learning, and then you can kind of go and write a policy or process for something. Do you find your clients the same? Yeah,
I do find that a lot of businesses, they've kind of, as they start to document a process and they start putting the policies in place, and that's okay to do that. But you do need to make sure that if you're doing it that way, you kind of review them and make sure you're improving them over time. And you don't just accept things are the way they are. You're constantly looking at opportunities to improve the way you do things.
Yeah.
And so, allowing things to evolve and change as your business grows is something it's pretty important there. And then, when you get to the right size of a business, then putting in a policy or documenting the procedure once you know how to do it. And so, that makes a lot of sense, especially once the business gets to that kind of medium sort of size. They started small and nimble, but now they've got 15 or 20 people working for them, and they start to need to have to document things and understand it. And then once you get to sort of that 100 employee mark, then it's really important to understand how the business processes are working and who's doing what and in what sequence.
Yeah. I'm a big advocate for what you do because, I studied visual arts and have a graphic design diploma. And I find, as a lot of business owners, we have this passion, but we have no idea what we're doing when it comes to business. So working with someone like yourself or an advisor or a coach just really gives you those skills to help you, go to business war and be equipped to actually run a business properly, right? Because there's so many different moving parts, as I've learned.
You're absolutely right. There's many, many different moving parts. And there's so many things to think about on any given day, from, what's my business strategy to, has my overdue accounts, has my overdue bill been paid, or have my customer paid me? So there's so many things to kind of take into account. And so being able to know that, how your business is operating really helps you to just understand where the potential problems could lie, but also where the opportunities to improve the business lie as well. And so that's really what I'm focusing on helping business owners with now, and doing that, but making sure we're doing that in a sustainable way. But how do we scale and make sure we're looking after sustainability at the same time, and sort of looking at okay, where are we going strategically? What are the systems and processes we're using to get there? And then, how do we do that sustainably? And it's really that middle piece I find that businesses are needing the help with now, especially in that sort of medium to larger private enterprise space, where it's just like, I just need help to help make help things be more efficient.
I'm really glad as well you mentioned in a sustainable way, because I'm quite impatient. So I want stuff to happen yesterday, but my advice is great. It always reminding me, like, Tracy, it's a process, and things happen. Like it's not a race, right? It's like training almost for a marathon. You have to slowly, incrementally do things and change things. What's your thoughts on that?
I think I like that not a race mentality. It's sometimes we can really get caught up in the rush. And it's just, let's do it now. So, sometimes you've got to actually say, well, what's the rush here? It's important to get things done and get things done in a timely way, but not everything needs to be done yesterday.
No.
So making sure things are being done in a way that we can actually grow with this pace, and keep going, because we don't want to burn out at the same time.
And how important in your view is focus?
Focus. I think being able to focus on the task at hand, absolutely critical. And but at the same time, you need to be aware of your environment. So it's that ability to kind of understand what's happening around me, but focus on the thing I need to do, and get that done. And I do struggle with that. I've been told I probably have ADHD just without the H. And so I sort of struggle a bit with some of that focus and that keeping the attention on the thing. And it's easy to get distracted by the latest toy or the latest gadget and the latest trend and that sort of thing. So you do need to be able to kind of look at those things and be aware they're there, but go, actually, no, I'm not gonna chase that. That's not something I'm going to look at. I'm going to stay on task with what I'm doing as a business owner and stay focused on my strategy and my objectives.
And do you think as business owners we can ever truly feel fulfilled?
Now we're getting philosophical. Yes, I have actually spent a bit of time over the last few years looking at that kind of, what is fulfillment and what is fulfillment and what is joy really. And I think as a business owner, you'll probably never feel fulfilled by your business. There'll always be something more. You'll always want it to be a bit bigger, or maybe sometimes you'll want it to be a bit smaller.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
I guess if you're done. Sure.
Sort of get to a point where you're just like, this thing's outgrown me now. I liked it when it was 20 people, 30 is more than I like. I'm comfortable with. And so there are, or it could just be, look, I've got 30 people and I can only afford 20. Could be the other one. And so there's different times, but there'll always be something the business needs that means you won't feel fulfilled from it. So it really just comes down to learning to accept the business as it is. Yes, it will change, it will adapt, and it'll have new needs, but that fulfillment sort of coming from within, as opposed to it being the business providing the fulfillment.
Yeah.
And I think that's true of anything in life. It's kind of learning to be happy and accept life as it is, but also acknowledging that there's parts of life, it sucks, but I can still be okay in this moment.
I've been reflecting on this a lot lately, and I feel like I constantly feel like unsettled. I don't know how you are.
Yeah, it is hard to feel peace, I guess. It's this constant uncertainty out there around, where is my revenue coming from in 6 months' time? And, how am I going to put food on the table and all that sort of thing in 6 months' time? It's always there.
Yeah.
But I think, it's one of those things around dealing with that kind of uncertainty. It's just taking that action and taking that sort of that right action every day, and just keeping that mindset of, okay, reality is my pipeline's empty, but I can take action to resolve that, and being comfortable that that's what you've got to do, and sort of learning to be comfortable with the uncertainty. And that's something I'm still working on. I think it's an ongoing journey on that front. But yeah, I think that's a lot of it comes down to just, that internal sort of mechanism, sort of internal peace, as opposed to trying to seek it from the outside.
Yeah, and I also think it's that drive, right? Constantly wanting to achieve certain things. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think there is, as business owners, we're an ambitious bunch.
Crazy.
And, there is always something we want to achieve in the business, and that drive, and that we just want to see our vision fulfilled. Well, whatever that is, and in some way, shape or form. And, that the funny thing is you'll fulfill that vision one day maybe, and then you'll have a new one. So it is that constant drive to achieve, and that sort of that constant that drive to just do better than I did last year. But you've got to be able to be comfortable with the fact some years are not going to be as good as last year.
Yeah.
The profit is going to be down, the dividend you take home is going to be lower. There might be one less holiday, or something, or worse. But, it's just accepting that that's the reality of being a business owner. And going for it anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Michael, how has business changed you?
I think it's made me more aware of the world and the way the world operates, just being a business owner. I think my early career, I was with Wesfarmers for nearly 15 years.
Oh, wow, okay.
And, I went straight out of high school into an IT traineeship. Very, very fortunate opportunity working for Wesfarmers in their corporate office, straight out of high school.
Gosh, that's a great opportunity.
Yes,
sure.
Sitting in the managing director's chair, Michael Chaney, fixing his computer at the age of 17, not realising how important that was. Yeah. Just sitting there naively fixing a computer. This person just happened to be important. And so, I was doing that, and then I think, being in the corporate world, I was sort of sheltered from the way the business world really, really works. And I think, when I did sort of leave Wesfarmers and get more into the sort of the consulting world and sort of small business, I started to kind of be a bit more savvy and that sort of thing and understand that. And then when I went out and started my own business, that's where it became really, that's where it really became quite real around, wow, it really is hard to get sales and to build relationships with people and get them to want to actually do business with you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comfort that comes from being in a corporate, and there's a lot of comfort that even comes from being in a larger consultancy with infrastructure behind you. There's a HR department, and there's a marketing department, and there's a team that will help you make your slides pretty and all of that sort of thing. And then you go out on your own and you've got none of that. You've got to do it all yourself. Or at least pay someone directly out of your own pocket to do it. And it just becomes very real around, wow, this is actually tough to do this. And so it's really sort of hardened me as a person in terms of, just the realities of the way the world works and the way people are, and, how hard it is to build a relationship with someone who ultimately you care about them, you want to be around them, but you also want to do business with them, because you're trying to run a business. So you kind of want to have the relationship, but you kind of need them at the same time. And so it's a really interesting dynamic to sort of navigate through. And I think it sort of made me quite much more aware around that process and how an interesting, intricate balance that can be. And
I think it teaches you like a lot about oneself. I think it's been a massive like personal growth journey for me, and I don't know I would have had the same had I stayed employed.
Yeah, I think I can relate. I can relate to that in terms of, you're now it, and so you have to keep going, and you very quickly work out what stops you from doing that.
Yeah.
You also very quickly work out what helps you get back going again.
Yeah.
And look, sometimes, I remember there's been times where I've just gone down the beach because that was the most productive thing for me to do that day.
Yeah.
And I think that's something else that, back on the question earlier around what can business owners sort of, what can they do to really help, what could business owners do to really help their businesses? And sometimes it's okay to not be productive as such. The most productive thing you can do is rest.
I needed to hear that.
Or take some time out and go for a walk in nature. You're better off going for a 20-minute walk in nature and feeling re-energized and sitting at the desk trying to slog it out for 2 hours and getting nothing done anyway.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the mentality that you need to take sometimes, is just, I don't always have to be doing something that seems like it's productive. It can be. We can redefine what productive looks like. And I have this concept of a donut day.
Oh, okay.
And it's, I deliberately spell it DONUT,
right,
because it's do not day.
Okay.
Do nothing day. And I like to have an actual donut on that day, made out of dough.
Oh, nice.
But they're basically do nothing days, where it's a day where I just can't get much done. And so, they're just, in a sales team, a donut day is a day where your sales have a 0 on them.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're okay. It's okay to have a donut day sometimes, deliberately or because that's just your mood.
Yes.
And being accepting of that, and get up the next day and do what needs to be done the next day. Hopefully it's not 2 donut days in a row. And generally it's not. If you've acknowledged that today I'm not going to get anything done, or I'm not going to get much done, much more than the absolute bare essentials done, you'll probably feel better the next day and you'll be back on track.
Michael, if your kids listen to this episode one day, what's one thing you want them to remember from it?
That's a really good question.
Not if, when they listen, shall I say?
Of course.
Sorry.
Oh, this is going to be etched on the internet for eternity.
Yeah.
They'll find it. I would say it's really just the importance of accepting who you are as a person, and just being authentic about who you are, and being okay with that. Yes, you can always be striving to be better, but being okay with who you are. And that's to me is something that, is sort of a lesson I've learned the last few years. Is when I'm okay with who I am and I'm authentic about who I am, everything else just seems so much easier.
So true.
You build better relationships, and relationships are absolutely critical to enjoyment in life, to success in life, to building a successful business or any kind of career. But it comes from that place of authenticity. And so that to me is probably the thing, is just being at peace with who you are and being authentic, and then you can build from that.
And I think, like you mentioned earlier, just dropping that facade of like, you don't have to be a certain way. And I've learned this on my journey. You don't have to be a certain way, doing certain things to please other people. Like, just lean in more into being Tracy or whoever it is that you are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And, sometimes I say these sort of things and I kind of reflect back and go, oh, I could learn from that myself. Here I am teaching others what I need to learn.
That's okay, you can watch a podcast.
Exactly. But it's absolutely true. If we can be who we are, then we can show up feeling peace internally, inside, when we're being ourselves, and that sort of radiates and makes a huge impact on the people around us. People can feel it. When we're putting up that facade of, oh, business is great, it's all good, I think people feel that. Even if they don't kind of know it intuitively, I think they kind of feel it. There's just something that happens when somebody is more authentic around, oh, look, I had a really hard week. It was busy, but it was a tough kind of busy, not an enjoyable busy. And, people open up more.
Yeah. And do you think some business owners try and dull themselves down or try and cope, I guess, through drinking or partying or drugs or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I think the most common vice is of course, alcohol. You know, the number of networking functions you go to, and there's always alcohol, you know, and you feel a bit weird when you're the one that's not drinking. And, you know, I don't drink anywhere near as much these days. I try and limit it. And, you know, I still have drinks sometimes, but I quite often go to a networking event and I don't want a wine tonight. I'm just going to have a glass of water, and everyone's got a glass of wine. And at first I felt a bit weird, but now I just like, who cares? I don't want to drink. It's too bad.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. And so, you know, but I think it is that those kind of coping mechanisms that you need to be really aware of is that, you know, ultimately we're all kind of just biological creatures, and we're after a dopamine hit and to feel better and all that sort of thing. But, you know, I think it's it's being very disciplined with yourself around those, and, you know, okay, if you're going to have a drink on a Friday, keep a lid on it. You know, and just being very, you know, and different business owners, it's different vices.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it's just being mindful of what those things are for you that can potentially derail your day because you got sucked into something. Or derail your weekend because you had a hard week, and so you had a big Friday night out in the booze, and you come back home on Saturday morning and you can't be present for your family because you're too hungover.
Yeah, you feel awful.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I think it is just being very mindful of those things.
Michael, to wrap up our conversation, have you got a great joke for us?
Oh, geez. Should have foresee you put this on that one.
If you've got one.
All right, I'll try this one.
Okay.
Hopefully it doesn't flop on the podcast.
That's all good.
But anyway, so yeah, a few years ago I lost my job, and that was okay. I got to spend mornings sleeping, afternoons drinking, and evenings doing drugs.
Fair enough.
And that was great, even if they are antidepressants.
Sure. Fair enough. There we go.
So I did find myself in hospital.
Oh.
But while I was there, I realised a few things. I don't like mornings. I drink too much, and I got depression. And they're the basic ingredients for a comedian.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
And you heard that here.
Heard that here, yeah.
Michael, thank you so much for all that you've shared. I know we had to wait a while for this conversation, but I've loved hanging out with you. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners before we sign off?
Final words of wisdom. I think find every day something to help you laugh. I think if you can find something to laugh about every day feels a little bit better.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks, Tracy.